everybody! Okay, so today I want to take you through some of the foundations that I have used to try and give me a better, more flawless coverage for someone with freckles. Now, I have freckles all on my face. I don't really have them anywhere else on my body. Everyone says, why do you want to cover them? Freckles are lovely. They might be to the people that don't have them, and to some people that do have them, if you love them, then I wish I was you. But for me, I don't. I don't love them. In fact, I find them an absolute pain. They come out so much more in the summer. I have them all year round, and they just get on my nerves, and it's so hard to try and get that flawless look if you have freckles, I think. Unless you want to go for the real sort of natural kind of look. So anyway, so I'm going to go through the sort of foundations that I've recently been, I say recently, over sort of quite a long period I've been using and trialling and airing, and seeing if this will help you at all. Just to let you know, the type of skin that I have is mainly normal, but I do have sort of dry tendencies. My skin does, just sort of around here, and as it goes up to the top of my eye, and just sort of all around the nose sort of here, can get a little bit dry. So I have to be really careful and extra moisturise on those parts of my face. Okay, so a product that I used for about a year, when I didn't really use branded products, well, I don't say branded products, I sort of say, you know, the more expensive, not the drugstore lines. And I used it for about a year because I refused to sort of spend a lot of money on a foundation at this point. I was a student and I just didn't want to. But I soon changed my mind. But what I used to use was the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Foundation. And my nails look extremely orange on here, and they don't really look that kind of colour here. But anyway, and I was in Golden Beige the last time I brought this. And it's a little squeegee pump. Spreads really, really well. Only problem is I had to put about 3 or 4 layers of it before I felt like I got any coverage. Staying power, about 4, maybe 5 hours. Not as long as I would have liked, especially if it was in the summer. It would sweat quite a bit, and I would sort of get marks all here, and it would sort of go a little bit patchy. It retails about £10 or £12 roughly, sort of in between that. And like I said, I used it for a year, but I used to have to buy one every single month because I put so much on. So, I mean, if you add that up over the year, I spent an absolute fortune just on trying out a foundation that I really wasn't that happy with, but I sort of refused to look at the more expensive sort of high-end non-drugstore foundations. And everyone said to me, why are you using this? Why don't you just try the Este Lauder Double Wear foundation? It's got a better coverage, it's got lasting power. You know, they say if you want to cover your freckles, it's the right thing to use. So I was just like, okay, I might just grin and bear it and just pay the money. It was £26.50. This is the bottle. That's what it looks like. And that's glass. It's like a frosted glass. And I actually think it does look quite nice. I think it's quite a classy looking one. I was in Desert Beige, which I'd probably say was actually a little bit too dark for me. But that's because I was trying to get the sort of in-between colour of the freckles to my skin tone to be able to try and disguise them. And it required a lot of blending all around the neck, and it was just a bit of a nightmare. So it's just like this. And I know a lot of people love this because the staying power on this is absolutely, hands down, the best foundation I had tried for staying on my face. I still think now it's got the best staying power than I've used since I've been using this. Coverage was very good, although where it's a matte one, like I said, I have got a tendency to be have dry skin. It did dry my skin, and I did get all the patches here and sort of on my eyes, and it did become very sore and sort of puffy and red. And then the makeup, where it is quite drying and it is matte, would sort of go all into the dry creases, and it just started to look a bit of a mess. So I think if you've got dry skin sort of around the eye area and you're very sensitive, I'd recommend that you sort of put it a lot lower and then deal with the concealer that you used to be around the eye, because it did dry me out. Literally within about 2 weeks of using it, I noticed my skin was not, it didn't really like it. I wasn't breaking out or anything, but dryness it did cause a lot of drying. So I was trying to come up with different moisturising routines, and that's also when I tried eyeshadow primers for the first time. But so I went through, this would probably last me about 2 months as well. So in the end it actually worked out a tiny little bit more expensive than when I was doing the L'Oreal, but I was more happy with the coverage, which actually made me more satisfied, and I was prepared to spend the money if I was happy with it. Then I sort of had this like, not an epiphany, but kind of reality of animal testing, and I did a bit of research and thought, are companies still doing it, or have we really moved into the 21st century and sort of moved on? And we hadn't, and I was sort of gobsmacked and I was really upset. And that's then when I found out that Este Lauder do still test on animals, and I was a little bit heartbroken because I was starting to do well with the moisturising and coming up with different routines, and then it meant I had to stop using it, and I couldn't bear the thought of, for my sake of cosmetics and my vanity, that animals were going to suffer because of it. So I couldn't do it. And, you know, each to their own. If everyone wants to, you know, it's entirely up to you. And if you are going to use this and you have slightly dry skin, just make sure you're a bit more careful around the eyes and you do moisturise as much as you can. But has fantastic staying power, lovely looking bottle. Although obviously when you put it on, it would go onto my hand and it would be quite drying. So like I said, and it would really stay because the staying power is incredible, that I ended up using a disc. But anyway, so that's the reason why I stopped using this. And then moved on to try a drugstore one. But if I can save some money on a drugstore one, then I will. The only drugstores that we've got around here that have brands that don't test on animals, really, apart from like Barry M, and a couple of others that I don't really use, was Revlon. So I tried the Revlon ColourStay, and like you can see, it says normal to dry because I thought I'd try it. Too oily for me. I think it's because the rest of my face is really is quite normal. And when I started using eyeshadow primers as well, it meant I wasn't having to put foundation onto my eyelids. Then I actually found it was too greasy and oily. It says it lasts up to 16 hours. Absolutely does not last up to 16 hours. I would probably say 4. And that's all depending on what you're doing. If you've kind of got a really busy day, it wouldn't even last 4 hours on me. I do think it's a nice bottle though. I do like it. For drugstore, I actually think it's kind of a classier looking one than some of the others. Oh, I was in Sand Beige. Again, probably a tiny little bit too dark for me. Apparently the combination to oily though has a more fuller coverage, because I didn't find the coverage on this was absolutely brilliant. I would say it's a medium, a tiny bit to full. If you've got like spots or like blemishes, but for freckles, it's definitely not a full coverage foundation. But I did see somewhere that it did say a medium, and I was like, oh, I was told that it was a full coverage, but then I saw that the combination oily one was a full coverage. So, oh my hair, what's my hair doing now? Anyway, so for some of you that might be a really good one to try if you're trying to find a cheaper option, that you do have like quite dry skin and you don't mind using a product that's a little bit more sort of oily. I would definitely recommend that for that type of skin. For me, just didn't quite work. So that leads me on to my current foundation, and so far I've got about 2 more foundations that I want to try before I actually say yes, this is going to be the one I want. And they don't test on animals. Unfortunately, they have got some parabens in the foundation, so that is annoying. That's why I still want to try these other 2. Because if I can still reduce on the parabens, then I will. But my cruelty-free is my #1 priority. So, I will show you. It is Illamasqua, and it is the Rich Liquid Foundation, and I'm in colour RF133. And for me, this is the best colour I have found. It doesn't make my freckles look that kind of grey colour if you use a too light colour foundation. The coverage is brilliant, and I use my Sigma F80 with this as well to apply this one. I love the fact that it's not glass and that it's squeegee, and that it goes, if you have it like this, it all goes down instead of like these ones. All of the others are all up, whereas I like this because it's always coming down the bottle, so I love that. Also, I like that it's like this, so I just put it straight onto my face, sort of in the main areas, and then with my brush I just like buff it in. I work on those. I find that one layer of it, oh, I can't get it back on the right place. one layer of it really does give you a near full coverage. I'm the most happy with the coverage. Doesn't dry out my skin at all. Staying power, rubbish. It says that it has a lasting coverage. I think it's a bit of a rubbish coverage. Lasting. But other than that, it's not drying. Love the bottle. Fantastic colour range online. And it's something that I definitely would recommend for people that have got slightly dry skin, that want full coverage. That is a really good bottle. Brilliant delivery. Was like £21, the cheaper than Illamasqua, Este Lauder, and has lasted me so far. I've been using this a month every single day. I'm going to get a couple more months out of this. So good money saving. Will warn you, when you first use it, has got a bit of a funny smell. But I found after the first day of using it, I didn't smell it at all anymore. And you do get past that. So also it's a British company, so that's really good, obviously, because it reduces my carbon footprint. Although it says they're made in Germany, so probably not so much, but obviously not using ones coming from America, it's a little bit less. But no, definitely a good one to use. My next two that I'm going to try, though, is the Laura Mercier Silk Cream Foundation, and then after that, my next one will be Cover FX Total Coverage Cream Foundation, which obviously in like the dish. But if I use that, that's £37, and this is £21. So if I can try and not, then I won't. But apparently the Cover FX is brilliant for coverage, brilliant for like sensitive skin. So it might end up having to be that I do give it a go. But I hope this has helped and given you some ideas of a couple of more high-end ones compared to a couple of the drugstore foundations. And for like sort of normal skin with a little tendency to be dry, because I find a lot of reviews are on oily skin, so I think this is, hopefully it will be really helpful for you. And yeah, so I'll put all the information below, and I would say definitely check out the Illamasqua foundation, because if you have a really good setting powder, or you have a good setting spray like the Urban Decay one or something, then I would definitely recommend giving this one a go, because you just got to get past the staying power problem. Other than that, absolutely brilliant, can't fault it. So thanks guys for watching, and tune in for my next video. Bye guys!